Hello, everyone. Hope we're all doing well. So, a few weeks ago, a good pal of mine, a good Twitch pal, and I guess real life pal, I've met them in real life, if you can believe that, announced that they were going to go sort of full time on content creation, as it's known. Output producing is the other one. Basically, streaming and doing like little video stuff on YouTube as well. And I know that they've been sort of thinking about doing this for a while, and I'm right behind it, obviously. And I just thought, I wanted to make a post in my Discord to sort of like announce this for anyone who maybe didn't catch the announcement or anything like that. And then I was sort of thinking, what's the best way to do this? Do I just make a post? And I thought, I don't want to be speaking on their behalf. And then I thought, okay, I could just ask them to write a post for me and I could just paste it or something like that. And then I just thought, well, if I'm going to do that, I might as well just like go the whole hog and do a whole, I guess, like interview chat kind of thing. An informal chat, as it's called in the workplace.
That's scary, yeah.
Yeah. So I hope we've all got our polo shirts on for this, because it is going to be informal. So with me today is our good pal, Nerdmotron. Hello.
Hello, how are you?
How are you doing? Oh, okay. Fair enough. Yeah, I'm doing all right, thanks. How are you?
Yeah, I'm fine. I'm good.
Good.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah, my pleasure. So the first thing I thought would be sort of appropriate to ask, and this is a horrible question, and again, it is something that you do get in job interviews and such. But can you sort of tell us a little bit about yourself and for the uninitiated?
Certainly can. So
who or what is Nerdmo?
I am Nerdmotron / Nerdmo, whatever takes your fancy. So as you said in your little intro there, just one of your typical content creator folks, output producing person, which I've been doing for like 5 or 6 years now, on and off.
Yeah.
Started off actually started off streaming Skyrim off my PS4 with no.
Oh, that's classic.
With no mic. I had a microphone. I didn't have.
Oh, you had a mic.
Didn't have a camera or anything.
No.
And had absolutely no idea what I was doing. I'd seen other people doing it and thought I would give it a whirl. Because I'm mostly sort of sitting there playing games and making stupid little jokes to myself all the time. So why don't I, put that out there and mayhaps earn a little bit of income from it?
Yeah.
Possibly. That's kind of how it got started, and it's just kind of grown and expanded from there. Kind of linked up with the various communities on Twitch, and it's kind of a mix and match sort of thing with that whole thing. It takes a while for you to kind of settle in. It does, it really does. In a community, which I have done for a while now, and it's a great bunch of folks. In terms of what I do, stream-wise, it's basically just whatever I want to do, really. Whatever game takes my fancy. Even if I just want to sit and have a chat with folk, I sometimes will do that. Everyone loves a just chatting stream.
Oh, they do.
Bit of a blether. I used to do a lot of Lego stuff, particularly on stream. Not so much anymore, mostly just because I can't really afford, both in terms of money and physical space, to buy any more Lego sets. Because I got a couple of huge ones, and they've kind of swallowed up all the space. But there was a good little while there where I was quite regularly getting sort of fairly large sets and spending like a week putting them together with folk on stream. I like doing that. Kind of miss doing that. And these days, it's mostly just gaming streams, and as you said there, I've taken to doing more sort of regular YouTube stuff. I say regular as in more frequent, not regular as in what everyone else is doing. That said, I think my kind of style with YouTube stuff is sort of what everyone else is doing, but with a bit of a cheeky spin on it, to make it a bit fresher.
A little bit sort of a bit sort of self-aware.
Yeah, but very, very
it's a bit daft,
tongue-in-cheek, and sort of my YouTube persona is a lot more sort of bombastic and well, arrogant, I guess, is kind of the way to. So, for example, everybody likes top 10 lists and that kind of thing.
Yes,
and I'd just been doing a lot of thinking about Doctor Who. So it's like, okay, well, this is in my head. So what I'm going to do, I want to do a top 10 list related to Doctor Who. What's it going to be? It's not just going to be something boring like the top 10 Doctors. I thought like top 10 costumes, but no, that's still a bit too generic. So I was like, well, top 10 hairdos. What about that?
Yeah.
Nobody talks about that. I'd never seen anybody talking about that ever, and I'd done quite extensive research on this. So yeah, that's kind of the sort of start of the modern Nerdmo YouTube era. There had been stuff before then, which I think we'll get onto when we're asking about early content. But yeah, that's me.
That's Nerdmo.
That's Nerdmo. He, they pronouns, if that's of interest to people, which it should be.
Yeah, absolutely.
What else? I'm incredibly tall and quite large, if anybody cares about that. Don't know why it would, but it seems to come up more often than you would imagine.
It does. I remember when our good friend Tall Nerd TV entered my stream for the first time, and I thought it was your alt account. Because back then we did mention you being tall a lot more often than we tend to do now.
Yeah.
Which is a strange one.
That was very funny. It was a bit of a Spider-Man pointing meme moment, that one.
It was really good. Yeah. I can't believe they stuck around as well. It's crazy.
Yeah.
I think it's quite interesting the way you talked about how you sort of started off on PS4 with a mic, no webcam, and just sort of, because you just sort of thought, while I'm playing this, I'm sort of doing little silly jokes to myself, and other people might like that. Because that is pretty much how I started out as well. Like, yeah. I think some of the first games I streamed were like, it would have been like Pro Evolution Soccer 2016 or something like that. I used to make really stupid looking teams with like Ronald McDonald and stuff like that, and I thought people might find that funny. I don't think anyone watched it, but that is how years and years back, that's how I sort of originally started out as well. And I should say as well that I think this chat is going to be quite interesting because of the sort of dynamic in terms of you sort of making your foray into doing this full time, and me having done this full time for like almost 3 years, I think it was.
Yeah.
And now I'm sort of old and weathered, and
seen it
so
all.
I've got a little bit of maybe a different viewpoint at times, and I think it's going to be interesting to sort of see how that contrasts.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's certainly been useful to kind of pick your brain and take little bits of advice and things about it. Has been very, very useful.
Not that I did like tons of things right. I think I did more things wrong, but I think you can learn more from that.
Mistakes.
If you have an idea, I go, here's what I did, don't do that.
Yeah.
That's probably going to be a better bit of advice than, because otherwise it's just a bit sort of like, what's it, survivorship bias or whatever it's called. You know?
Yeah, well, yeah, that's true. We definitely learn from our mistakes. I've definitely made several myself on my way to where I am now. So, it's useful to reflect on those things.
So, going back in time a little bit, and I don't know how much you remember about this because I don't remember a whole lot, but I wanted to talk about how we know each other. Sort of like the early days of...
Yeah, so I was thinking about this because I'm going to struggle to remember quite a lot of it as well because my memory is very, very flimsy.
Well, hopefully what we can do is we can sort of, you have a few vague memories and I have a few, and we can sort of like smush them together and it becomes one sort of half decent memory.
Yeah. Well,
maybe.
I think my first memory of it was there was somebody that I watched quite regularly basically raided into you, and I think that was kind of my first experience. I can't even remember what you were doing this, because this must have been like 5 years ago, maybe
this
more.
Was 2020, early 2020, so 4.5 years ago.
Yeah, that makes sense. So that's kind of my first memory of it, and I just remember going in there and just being like, I really like the vibe of this place. It's silly but relaxed, which is exactly my kind of thing. Clearly, we're not taking things too seriously here, but also, there's a little air of semi-professionalism about the place. So
yeah,
that was good. I remember that. But I remember the vibe of it. I don't remember exactly what you were doing or anything like that. As I say, it might have been City Skylines, because I think we did that for a while back in the day.
See, I think that's kind of interesting because when I look at, there are clips of me back then and old videos that I've got saved on my computer that I'm not putting anywhere, because I sort of turn inside out when I look at my stuff back then, because I was trying too hard to be deft.
Right, really? Interesting.
I absolutely was. It wasn't until maybe sort of the end of 2020 that I sort of got into just being me,
right?
And not sort of trying to like play things up for a laugh all the time and stuff. I mean, that stuff always still happened, but like, not. I wasn't seeking silliness. I would just let it come to me, and then.
Yes, yeah, I get that. Yeah, I was kind of probably a bit like that myself. Maybe trying to kind of emulate the style of others, a little bit. Which, you kind of do when you're first starting out, when you're trying to find your feet and find your voice, kind of thing. But I honestly, that kind of came as a surprise when you told me that there just now, because it always seemed very, very natural coming from you.
Well, that's just because I'm a fantastic actor.
So, well,
thanks.
Indeed, yeah.
Yeah, no, it's one of those. It's just one of those things. I think everyone has it when they look back at their past selves and they just sort of cringe. It's like that, but I don't get that so much from maybe streams I did in 2021 or 2022. Tends to be the stuff I was doing sort of maybe in the first year of me streaming that kind of I find it difficult to watch. And also it's because it was during lockdown and my hair was just a complete mess, and I didn't realize how much of a mess it was at that point.
Yeah.
And I hated that as well.
Yeah, I think we all went through a bit of that. The old self haircuts and so forth. Yeah.
So my memory of sort of getting to know you again, it's really vague, and I don't know. This must have been sort of spring of 2020, but I don't have like a specific timeline in my head.
Yeah.
Of like the first stream you were in, or the first game I was playing, or the first game that I watched you play, or the first thing I watched you did. So tying into that, I want to talk about maybe your early content, and not just the stuff from 2020, but I mean, we've already talked about it a little bit, so you can sort of briefly go over that stuff again. But I'm thinking about like the origins of your username, your quote unquote branding, if you want to call it that and be professional. And maybe some of the earlier things you did, maybe sort of 2020 and earlier, I suppose.
Yeah, so that's interesting, because I guess the origin of the username is kind of the origin of everything, really. And it's not even really that interesting an origin for the username. Basically, I was just looking for a change to my Twitter username, because that was my main sort of internet output at the time.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to find something unique and that sounded interesting, as you do with a username.
Yeah.
And Nerdmotron just came to me. It just came to me one day. It was just like, take two things that are sort of vaguely related to stuff that you like and smash it together and see what happens. So I was like, yeah, that's pretty cool. I'll go with that. Change the name. To begin with, for whatever reason, possibly just sheer boredom, But one day when I was at the job that I was at, working in an office for a bank, I was very bored and idle and just kind of mucking around with some stationery. And I made this little, like I drew a face, like a little smiley face on a Post-it note, and then arranged some rubber bands around it so it looked like a face with like a cowboy hat and a big like Desperate Dan chin. And I was like, okay, well, I like that. It doesn't really tie in with the username, but I like this image that I've created. And so I've made quite a silly little sort of persona around that. I remember one thing I did with it was around some election time. I did a sort of fake, I'm running for office kind of thing. But my slogan for it was vote for me. I'm not so much running for office as I am ambling towards a stationery cupboard. Which I thought was very funny.
Yeah.
And then I think after it started, was it after I'd started streaming? No, it couldn't have been because I would have. No, it would have been because I'm thinking of when I've set like display pictures and avatars and that kind of thing. Because when I first set myself up on Twitch, I think it was just my regular boring human face that I was using.
Oh, right, yeah.
And then it was maybe a month or two after that, maybe a year or so even. Again, the timeline is kind of vague in my head with this. I landed on the whole Lego thing. I started getting back into it.
Yeah, that's what I remember. The red username in the chat as well.
Yes. Because my colour scheme back then was more sort of red and black and gold, kind of like Lego colours. And then I came up with I made the little minifigure with like the blue suit and the robot face and the hair. And I thought, okay, I can do something with this. Wasn't quite sure what I was going to do. I was going to make it like a little sort of animated assistant kind of thing. Yeah. Or something like that, or something that I could like cut away to for little sketches or something like that. Some sort of like a mascot, basically. The intention wasn't for it to become me. That just sort of happened. I don't quite know how. It just, I think mostly it just became that became the easiest way to do it. Was just for this to be me, for that to be my kind of online persona.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was kind of when Nerdmotron, as I am just now, kind of got locked in, or at least the start of it kind of got locked in, and it's just kind of expanded from there. So yeah, that's the origins of my name.
What about the sort of earlier streams? You mentioned you did Skyrim.
Yeah.
Do you remember any others? Now I remember there's 3 that I'm gonna, or 4 I think that I'm gonna pick out. If you don't remember, I'm going to mention them.
Well, I remember doing Skyrim. I don't really remember much between that and Fallout 4.
Okay, that was one of the ones I was going to mention because of the famous. I think it might be one of the first clips the first streams I'd watched of you because of that clip where you died and then you hadn't realised that you hadn't saved it since you left the vault.
Oh my god, that was a time and a half. Yeah.
Yeah, 2.5, 3 hours wasted. You hadn't saved it.
Oh, and everybody had been telling me, sleep in a bed whenever you can, or it's going to go horribly wrong. And it's like, no, I've got this. And then that happened, and then I binned that game off for about a year or so after.
Yeah, I think it was quite a long time.
Yeah, it was. Because my whole thing in playing it then was I had tried to play it before just in my own time and it didn't really land with me. So I thought, well, I'll do it on stream and maybe that'll, I'll get other people's enthusiasm for it, might kind of get me more into it.
There's definitely games where I've been like that, where I've thought I need to play this on stream because this is not going to sustain me offline.
Yeah.
Because I need some other sort of I need communication or just something else to get through the beginning bit of it.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I'm just going to give up,
Yeah, and then for whatever reason, I decided to do it on the most difficult possible way that nobody should really do when they're essentially just first starting out with the game on survival mode, and it was a bit of a disaster.
Yeah, I remember that one.
So, was it before or after that I did Lego City Undercover? Because that was a big thing.
It was around the same time. I can't remember. I think it might have been just after.
I think probably would have been just after, because I probably would have been looking for a bit of a palate cleanser after the Fallout 4 debacle. So yeah, that was a big thing for a while. Didn't expect it to become as big a thing as it did, but...
No, you tried to... You 100%ed it,
I did,
you made it like a thing. Yeah, on stream as well.
Yeah, I remember dancing around my kitchen. God, just thinking back to the setup that I used to have.
Yeah, that was on PS4 as well, wasn't it? See,
yes,
when people stream on the PS4, it has that sort of sidebar on the stream, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Where it has all the comments and it tells you how many people are watching and all that sort of thing, which I was never a fan of.
Yeah, I think I mostly had that switched off by that point. I'd had that all turned on to begin with, back when I assumed that I would just start from nothing and get like 50 people coming in and saying hello.
Yeah.
So I kind of had it up on there, and there was no actual comments coming through. So what was the point in having the thing up on the screen? So yeah, Lego City Undercover, that was a big one. There was a few odds and ends in between. Like I remember doing like a Halloween like weekend where I played a bunch of sort of semi-scary games, sort of horror themed games. One of which I really want to go back to. Actually, I can't remember what it's called.
What was the sort of gist of it?
It was basically you played a kid in a house where your parents had been kind of like folk had broken in and had like captured your parents and so forth, and you had to kind of sneak around and avoid them and like hide in cupboards and hold your breath so you're not making any noise and that kind of thing.
All right, no, I don't remember that.
It was really fun, actually. I didn't expect it to enjoy it as much as I did, and I've been meaning to go back to it ever since and just never ever have. And I probably won't now because I can't remember what it was called.
Maybe in your library somewhere.
Yeah, well,
you'd hope.
I mean, it was on. That would have been on like PS Plus.
Oh right,
because again, it would have been all PlayStation 4 based at that point.
I think if you Google the plot for that, it'll probably come up.
Probably, yeah. I can probably find it. But yeah, that was quite fun. I did a bit of City Skylines for a bit. But again, it was PS4 and it was very early days.
PS4 City Skylines was fucking abominable.
Oh god, it was awful. It was awful.
It's not built for the PS4 at all. It's not built for console.
No, it was very difficult to use properly. So yeah, that's about what I can remember of the early days anyway. I don't really remember what order any of that was in, but that was kind of some of the stuff anyway.
There's two things I remember that you haven't included in that, and these were both from 2020, I believe. One was a series of streams, and one was one specific stream.
Oh, right.
So I remember you doing, I mean, I could be wrong here, but I have a memory of you doing reading streams.
Oh,
you'd read a book.
Oh, yes. Yes,
which I really enjoyed. That. I didn't care about the contents of the book, but it's just one of those things that was really nice to have on in the background, especially. It's like, listening to an audiobook or like, I guess like a podcast or something like that. Not so bothered about the content as opposed to it's just like it's a pleasant voice to have in the background.
Yeah, I do remember that now. And again, I remember sort of around Halloween time because I've got this like really old book of like old horror stories from like the 1920s and earlier kind of thing. So I remember sitting and reading through some of those. God, some of them are absolutely ridiculous. Like, vaguely remember one about a guy who like moved in with somebody on a farm and they were getting tormented by this demonic horse or something. It's like this is very sort of early 20th century countryside paranoia kind of thing. It was quite silly. And I remember I started reading Misery as well by Stephen King. But I only got so far with that because basically I couldn't hack it anymore. I couldn't.
Yeah.
I really liked that book when I first read it, and then I went back to it and was like, this is grim. And it kind of got to a point where it was like, this is actually genuinely upsetting me. What the fuck? And then I kind of walked away from that. And I didn't really go back to the reading streams after that. I always kind of had vague plans to do so, but never ever got around to it. And I don't know if there's like copyright issues around doing that sort of thing, because I seem to remember there was a bit of a spate of that on Twitch of people doing similar things like that, and then it kind of seemed to die off almost as if, like, quite suddenly, almost as if there was somebody had highlighted some copyright issue and everybody kind of panicked and stopped doing it.
Well, that's just Twitch, isn't it? It happens like every 3 months.
Yeah, true. Yeah, that's true. So yeah, that's interesting. I'd forgotten about that.
Here's another one that you might have forgotten, and I'd actually forgotten about it, and then I realised that you still have an Instagram account that you've not updated in about 4 years.
Oh, yeah.
So I was looking back on that, and it mentions, and you'll remember this now that I say it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember the exact name for it, but it was the non-brand specific corn snack eating stream.
Oh my God, I'd forgotten all about that. How could I forget that?
Do you want to explain that to people who...
Oh no, my mic's falling over. Hang on a minute. How did that come about? I can't even remember. Basically the non-brand specific corn snacks thing came up because, just as a kind of jokey, I'm not trying to say the brand name live on stream kind of thing. I just thought that was quite a funny sort of obtuse way of putting it, sort of Victorian era kind of newspaper advert style. You know what I mean? Buy our non-brand specific corn snack potato chips kind of thing.
Yeah.
And then I think I made... I remember I made like a... I don't think it's a thing on Twitch anymore, but you could do like channel point challenges.
Yeah.
Where people would like chuck points into a pot and you'd go up to a certain goal and then
is that
whatever.
Not a thing anymore?
I don't know. I've not seen people using it, and I've not...
No, but I just think hardly anyone... I think people... this is when you did this when that first came out. I remember that. That feature was brand new.
Yeah.
And I think people used it at that point and then sort of just stopped when
I think it just
got boring.
Yeah, I think people just got sick of it. I'd be surprised if it is still there, because...
Yeah, I've not checked. I might have a look.
Well, we all know how keen Twitch are to just, launch something and then bin it after a couple of days, even if it is successful, So yeah, I remember I set the goal, and I remember I set it to something absolutely absurd to begin with. Like 100 million points or something like that nobody could possibly ever achieve. And then it got to the end of the goal and it had made like 10% of it or something, or not even that. It was like, okay, well, I'll just try this again. Made it a bit more realistic, and then met it within maybe a couple of minutes. And the goal was to do a non-brand specific corn snack eating stream. And the idea was that I would sit there staring directly into the camera, almost unblinkingly the entire time, and eat an entire big bag of Doritos on stream. Just crunching away into the microphone, very, very deliberately, like picking out each individual Dorito, placing it delicately within the mouth, and crunching with great gusto.
And quite a few of us watched that.
It was incredibly popular. It's honest. I think it's probably one of the most popular things I've ever done. And I just, in one sense, it's incredibly cringy, but then it was kind of the point of it was to be incredibly cringy. It was just a genius idea. Because I was sitting there just watching the chat as well, like trying not to look at it because I was trying to like be like dead onto the camera the whole time.
Yeah, and we were trying to distract you.
You were all trying to distract me, and I had redemptions set up for various like dips that I had. I forgot a spicy one and a normal one.
I'd forgotten all about that.
Oh my God. What a genius idea that was.
We were all... There must have been... I don't know how many it was. Maybe like a dozen of us, at least. just sort of all sat there, during, it would have been, I don't know if it was during a lockdown or not. It would have been sort
It
of around
must have
that
been.
time, though.
It must have been. Nobody would have been interested in it
No.
otherwise.
We were all just like, oh my God, it's beginning. And the stream just started, and you just sat down on a chair in front of a camera, opened up, what was it, like, is it 180-gram bag or whatever?
Yeah,
It's like quite a big one.
It's like one of the big share bag things, yeah.
Yeah, one of the big share bag ones. I think it might have been, was it cheese? The cheese one?
I can't remember. Probably.
I can't remember.
Yeah, probably would have been. Yeah, I can't remember exactly.
Cheese is the good one, basically. Yeah.
But I had it all poured out into a bowl so nobody could see the official branded package.
Oh, yeah. And we just, it was probably, how long? Was it probably about 30, probably a good half an hour or something like that. It must
Something
have been.
like that, yeah. Yeah.
And you just stared into the camera the whole time. We couldn't put you off or anything like that. You ate the whole thing, and then you just hit end stream, and that was it. As soon as you finished the last one, you just ended it. You didn't say anything. You looked into the camera the entire time. No words or anything like that. No, it was literally just, it was like a CCTV camera type thing. It was almost as if you didn't know you were being recorded.
And yet it was somewhat performative as well, because I'd be like taking out each individual crisp and kind of sometimes even just like examining it before. Yeah, oh God, what lunacy!
Oh, it was so good. I really enjoyed that.
I should do something outrageous like that again, because
do it with Pringles or something.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, yeah, I'll need to think of something. Maybe
size of Pringle tubes these days, you probably think in like 3 minutes.
Yeah, but you need to be a billionaire to be able to afford Pringles these days. 185? Are you kidding me?
That 185 is great on sale. They're fucking like 375 in some places around here.
Oh, really?
It's obscene. Yeah,
Bloody
if they're
hell.
not on sale.
I remember you used to be able to get them for like £1.20. £1.20 for a pack of Pringles. You know?
A couple of years ago, they were £1 if they were on sale.
Yeah, they'll sometimes be marked down, but yeah, it's usually about sort of £2 or over. And that's just for your kind of standard flavours. When you start getting into the fancy, like chili and lime flavours or whatever it is they do these days, then you're talking like £2.50, £3 easy. I was like, what the hell is this? Did we lose a war?
In a sense.
Well, yeah, I guess. Yeah.
So we've talked a lot about you and what you've been doing on stream and all that sort of thing. And what I wanted to ask next, and you can be as specific or unspecific as you like about this, it's absolutely fine, is what you were doing sort of off stream before you've made this decision to go full time.
Well, basically, I was working full time and absolutely hating it. Because I've been working in offices of various kinds for at least a decade, certainly the better part of a decade. Just doing customer service, telephony stuff. And it was kind of getting to the point where I just couldn't really stand doing it anymore.
Yeah.
And I'd been streaming for a while. I was kind of semi full-time at one point, like very early on.
Yeah.
Because I was working full-time, but I was also like managing to fit streaming in. Because I mean, it was lockdown, so I wasn't really going anywhere anyway. So it was easier to do.
Yeah.
But then, like the pressures of like a proper full-time job just kind of overwhelmed everything else, and streaming and things like that kind of fell by the wayside. And I kept kind of every so often I would kind of get back into it for maybe like a week or so in little short bursts, always kind of with the intention of getting back into it more regularly, but it just never quite managed to find the balance. And it got to a point where it's like, well, I'm not going to find a balance here. Something's got to give. Either I give up on the streaming and the content creation side of things and purely focus on the quote-unquote normal day job, or I go the other way. And it was like, well, if I stick with doing the regular day job thing any longer, I dread to think what's going to become of me, because I just couldn't stomach it anymore.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was it. I faced that choice, and I love streaming. I love video editing. I love doing all that stuff. And so I'd always been thinking about making it my main Excuse me. Thinking about making
That's
it my
fine.
main gig.
We'll keep that in.
Excellent. Keep this one in as well.
Oh God.
What the fuck was I talking about there? It's completely gone out of my head.
Streaming.
Oh yeah, what I was doing.
That was so vague. Sorry. That did not help at all.
So yeah, basically, I faced that choice, and I really wanted to make a go of doing the whole video editing kind of full time thing, and streaming and all that, because I know I can do it, and quite frankly, I am pretty good at doing it.
You are, yeah, and it's really good for you to know that as well.
Yes. I always knew that I was good at it, even from the very even when I was just basically streaming to nobody or bots, and I would still have a bit of the bantery attitude and things like that.
Yeah.
So I knew I was good at it, and I knew if I really kind of applied myself to it, then I could make something of it. I just really had to try. And I was like, okay, well, I'll give it a go. Maybe it succeeds, maybe it doesn't, but at least then I'll know if it is something that I could do full time.
Yeah.
And so far, so good. It's been a couple of weeks now, and I've more or less kept to the schedule that I set with a little bit of wiggle room.
Yeah. I think that's really important to not have it being so strict, the schedule.
Yeah.
Because, I just think if you sort of say, I'm going to be on at this time, then if you're not ready to go at that time, then you're just going to sort of not do it for the whole day. That's how I felt when I was doing it anyway.
Yes.
So I always just say, I might be on this day, and then more often than not, on that day, I'll be like, yeah, I'll just come on, but I'll do it when I'm sort of good and ready.
Yes, I find it's very important for me to kind of have even just vaguely set a schedule for myself.
Yeah, there's got to be some commitment, but like having it really specific can be a little bit, I don't know what the word is, like constraining.
You need a bit of wiggle room, because stuff comes up. Like the other day, I had a job interview, so I kind of had to shuffle things around because of that. You need a bit of flexibility. And I'd kind of planned that into my schedule as well, because at the moment anyway, 3 days through the week, and then on Sunday as well.
Yeah.
The streams through the week are kind of at set times, but the one on Sunday is just like, I'll come on whenever and do...
a bit more of a wild card.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, that's really what I was doing beforehand. A whole lot of nothing, basically. I mean, I had a steady income, and it was, fairly decent. It was enough to keep the lights on anyway, but it was just doing something that I absolutely hated and had just been doing for so bloody long that I couldn't stomach it anymore. So yeah, had to change to doing something, and I couldn't really imagine anything else that I could possibly do. Yeah,
and I think that's really good that you've sort of realised that it's something that, I think there's something you said there earlier about you want to know, even if it falls flat on its face.
Yeah.
Hopefully it doesn't, obviously. But even if it does, you know that you've given it a try, and you know that you've done the best that you can. And I think that's really important.
Yeah.
I also think it's quite interesting in the sort of differences that me and you have had in terms of you making a conscious choice to do this, and me, for those who don't know, I was sort of just streaming just for a bit of a laugh for a few months, and I got affiliate, I think, at the end of 2019, right at the end of 2019, and I was on Universal Credit at the time. I was on benefits. And I said to them, if I make any money from this, which is probably not going to happen, but on the off chance it does, even if it's like once every 6 months, sort of how do I declare that? Because, I don't want to obviously fall foul of all that stuff. And I was given some advice about what to do and all that sort of thing. Anyway, a few months later, COVID came around, and I was still doing this stuff. I think it was April that I got my first payment it was like 56 quid or something like that. And the advice that I was given basically didn't exist anymore because they changed all the systems around, because they're like that.
Yeah.
And so I had to get in touch with them again, but because it wasn't in person, it was just some random person replying to me. And what they told me, and what I didn't realise until I'd done it, is I'd actually registered with them as being self-employed. So I had to then go through the whole the whole route of registering as a sole trader, and every month I had to report any income I was getting from my job, even if I wasn't making any, which I didn't think I didn't think I got another payment until about August or September of 2020. So it's a good 5 months or something like that.
Yeah.
And yeah, so it was almost like an accident where I was like, well, I'm self-employed now, so I might as well, I can't really I don't really want to turn around and go, this was a mistake, because actually it's kind of nice that this is being viewed as like a job in a sense.
Yeah.
So I'll just do this. And that's how I started. It was almost like I was thrust into it.
Yeah.
And then I just sort of made the most of it. Which is...
Some choose to be streamers, some have streaming thrust upon them. Yeah.
It was basically just a series of bureaucratic incompetences, if that's a word, that caused it, which, I don't regret it, but it's very daft. And I don't think I've really ever talked about that before.
Yeah, that's interesting.
But there you have it.
Yeah.
It's very stupid. Now, my next question to you was going to be, what made you want to go full time? However, I think you've actually answered that in the previous question.
Yeah.
Unless there is anything else you want to add to that.
No, not really. That's it. It's just it's what I want to do for the rest of my life. Basically, I can't picture doing anything else.
We'll go on to question 6, which again you've almost kind of answered there. What do you want from going full time? What are do you have goals? Do you have, however vague?
I've got the vague goal of making it like a major contributor to my income.
Yeah.
I don't have any illusions about it being like the main source of income. That might come. I think that's probably several years down the line, if it will. But even if I can make like a quarter of my income from it, even that's probably quite unrealistic. But I mean, ultimately, that is the goal: is to make it my ultimate source of income, to make it my living, because it's that or work in shops and offices. And there's nothing wrong with that. If that's what people want to do, then that's absolutely fine. I've just done it so much that I just can't anymore, really, unless I really have to.
Yeah, I can only imagine how much it wrecks you if you really don't want to do that sort of thing.
Oh God, it just doesn't work out, basically. Something's got to give at some point, as I say. But apart from the financial side of things, I really just hope, as I always have, just to make a pleasant space for people to come and just hang out, take a little break from their cares for a couple of hours a few times a week.
Yeah. And
just have a laugh and be pals, basically, and have a little community, all sharing our artwork and promoting ourselves and each other and all the rest of it. To be honest, when I very first started streaming, the intention was purely financial. That was all that I was really thinking about. And it was only after I realised, well, that's not really going to happen, certainly not right away. The bigger part of it is, the community building and getting to know people and, quote unquote networking. Which is just business speak for making friends,
Yeah.
And at least on that side of things, I have been incredibly successful, I think. I have never known a finer bunch of folk in all my days, really. Yourself and our mutual acquaintances and friends from across the Twitchiverse. So it's kind of a twofold goal, is to make a bit of money from it, but also create a nice place for people to come and hang out and not have to care too much about life,
And that's a really good answer, I think, because not that I'm grading you or anything like that, but
I'm getting a score at the end of this.
Yeah. Obviously financial things are important if you're looking to sort of sustain yourself.
Yeah.
But when I look back at what I did, and if I look back at any old clips that I have or any old streams or anything like that, which I do on occasion because I'm a little bit vain like that, and I'll sometimes just look back at an old Fallout 4 VOD I did or something like that.
Yeah.
There's no point where I go, oh yeah, that month I made a lot of money. That was a good month. Or, oh, I got a lot of subs in that stream or anything like that. It's always just, oh, that stream was really funny. Or I had a really nice time in that stream.
Yeah.
They're the things that you remember, like
Yeah.
years down the line. So yeah, it's doing it just for financial reasons is very, I don't know what the word would be, like cynical, I suppose.
I was just going to say, it's you kind of, if that is your only approach to it, if that's your only kind of goal with it, then I think it will make you a bit sort of cynical, because you'll always just be chasing after trends if you're doing that, rather than
Yeah, and you can always tell. You can tell when
yeah,
people
you
are
really
doing that.
can. You'll turn into fucking Nerdist or something like that. You know, just a bunch of people who quite clearly don't give a shit about what they're talking about.
Yeah, it's that sort of building, like making content that isn't fun but is solely to make money, like for algorithms and stuff like that.
Flipping Raid Shadow Legends sponsorships and all that kind of thing. The hell with all of that.
Less even that, but just sort of like, you know, making TikToks of things that are designed only to get comments instead of like to be
Right, yeah,
something, I suppose, well, I'll say worthwhile. Because let's face it, most fucking things like that. I mean, don't get me started about fucking algorithms and stuff like that. But you know how everything's designed to sort of just generate comments. It doesn't matter whether they're positive or negative. But basically, generating interactions, I guess, makes money.
Mm-hmm.
And so loads of people just go on that grift train of just posting anything mildly controversial because they know that gets the most comments. And it's just it just makes the world a worse place, you know? Whereas if you're just posting clips of you having a laugh and doing things that you really want to do, then
I guess it depends I guess it depends what individuals actually want to see in terms of content, because I think you kind of gravitate naturally towards producing the sort of stuff that you would want to watch yourself. So I don't want to watch somebody sitting there just cynically kind of churning out just this sort of engagement grabbing stuff that doesn't really have any substance to it. You know, I would rather do something that's kind of along those lines, but has my own kind of personality to it, and is also just done a bit tongue in cheek and a bit self aware and so on. Because that's what I want to see. And you know, I look at the type of stuff that I watch on YouTube, for example, and it's usually just people blethering about some interesting pop culture thing, or somebody examining a video game in an interesting way and stuff like that, and always doing it kind of irreverently and a bit sarcastically. So that's kind of what I aim for. I couldn't be generic, even if I tried, and I have tried in the past to do that kind of thing, and it's boring, you know.
Yeah, making content that you said there, making content that you would want to watch yourself is a really good bit of advice, I'd say, to anyone out there who's like maybe thinking about making content and you don't really know what to do. Make something that you would like, that you would, if you saw that on YouTube, you'd go, I'm going to watch that.
Yeah, I would say it's the way to go. And I mean, you're not going to know most of the time what that is to begin with. It takes a bit of experimentation and a bit of self-reflection as well to kind of figure out what it is that you would like to see. And then also you have to kind of put the effort into it of not just like one-to-one replicating something else. I mean, you could kind of start off that way just to kind of get a bit of practice and get to grips with it. But at some point, you need to start injecting your own personality and things into it.
Absolutely.
So yeah, it's we're making it sound a lot easier than it is, I think, is my point there.
So my next question to you would be: now that you're going full time in this, are you going to be doing anything different to what you were doing previously in terms of perhaps the way you approach it? Or an example I was thinking of was maybe equipment. Are you planning on maybe changing up like a webcam, or maybe getting a different mic or something?
Not really. Not sort of hardware wise. I think I'm pretty. I mean, maybe a new webcam. I've got a pretty decent webcam, but it could be.
What's the webcam that you've got?
Oh, it's some off-brand thing that I got for like a tenner off of Amazon one time. You know, you kind of roll the dice with those things. You either get a bit of crap or something that's actually fairly decent. Unfortunately, it seems to be fairly decent. I mean, it does like full HD and all that, so it's fine. It just doesn't have all the bells and whistles of your kind of high-end webcams.
Mm.
I tend to use the little PNG avatar thing quite a lot anyway, so webcam, maybe not so important for a lot of stuff. Although it will be for kind of filming myself for YouTube stuff, so that's
of course
maybe worth looking into. Like microphone wise, I mean, I'm using the one that I use all the time just now. It has served me incredibly well over the years. Again, just a very, I think was it a toner mic?
A toner?
Yeah,
I've not heard of that.
TONOR, toner,
Oh.
tonor.
No, I don't know.
It's decent enough. Again, very very basic stuff, but that's kind of how I like to keep it. Is very very basic.
Yeah.
I don't need a lot of fancy effects or anything like that most of the time.
Mm.
So, you know, the bare bones is usually enough. I mean, you know, as long as it's decent enough quality, and, you know, the stuff that I've got tends to be fine. Honestly, I'm not really planning on doing anything significantly differently from how I've done things in the past. The real difference is just going to be it being more regular.
Yeah.
And maybe having a bit more of an established kind of branding to it. Because I've always been fairly good with a sort of unified kind of branding.
You have, and I'm very envious of that. As someone who changes their branding every 6 months.
Yeah, well, I mean, you kind of have to change it up a little bit over time anyway, and it takes a while to kind of find something that you're like a sort of baseline that you're kind of comfortable with, because that's my kind of philosophy with when it comes to the branding stuff, is like basically pick a couple of colors and a typeface or a font and use that as kind of your baseline, and then like build on top of that and like variate it depending on what you're doing. Like, so for example, I'm doing Zelda game playthroughs on stream at the moment, so I've taken my sort of regular kind of Lego face avatar and Zeldified it. Fortunately, Lego were kind enough to come out with an official Zelda set before I started doing that, so I had some actual proper Zelda minifigure pictures to work from for that. So thanks, Lego, you've done it again. So yeah, that I think that in terms of what I'm going to be doing differently, that's really the main thing, is getting that nice sky blue plastered all over everything with that nice, gentle, easy to read font on everything, and you know, as I say, just kind of mix it up from there as and when I need to, because it has all kind of changed over time. Like I said before, I used to have the Lego thing.
Yeah, I remember you had the red username in the chat, and then it was yellow for a while.
Yes,
but it's been blue for a long time now.
I've kind of settled on the blue because, you know, the minifigure avatars, the whole blue suit and everything, it just, you know, it makes sense, because I don't ever want that avatar to change, really. That's pretty well locked in at this point, other than getting like more high quality photos of the figure itself, perhaps. That's not really ever going to change. So yeah, everything's just kind of based around that. In terms of the stuff that I'm going to be producing stream wise, it's going to be pretty much business as usual. Just me playing a game or having a chat with folk, and
yeah, if it ain't broke.
Exactly. Yeah, it's worked for me pretty well in the past. So that's just keep going with that. Basically, I will be doing a lot more YouTube stuff. I've been a lot more regular with that kind of thing.
Yeah.
It's still a little bit experimental. I've just been kind of chucking some short stuff up there, like I said, with the Doctor Who hair review ranking thing and stinkiest Marvel heroes and that kind of stuff. So expect a lot more sort of silliness of that sort to come. One of the major changes is quite recently, I do have a friend of mine who lives quite locally that I collaborate with on quite a lot of stuff. We do quite a lot of movie commentaries, which is one of my main, or has been one of the main things that's kind of kept the YouTube channel ticking over. So we've, he's got like a little attic room, and we've set up a proper like recording studio. If you've seen my latest YouTube video,
yes,
you would have seen that.
In the flesh.
Yeah, indeed. Still a bit of a work in progress. You know, we're still figuring out lighting and proper sound setups. It's all very make, do, and mend at the moment.
Yeah.
That's always been kind of our way of doing things anyway. So yeah, that's been a pretty major development, because previously it's just been me kind of sitting in my little office room in my flat doing it there, which is fine. It's actually a pretty good space to record in. It's not too echoey. You know, you can get decent lighting. Although I am always sat with my back to a window, which is not ideal. But you know. Anyway, I can fiddle around with that, but I don't really need to now because we've got an actual proper recording space. So that's pretty good. Makes it feel a bit more official. So yeah, I don't really know how much use we're going to get out of it at this stage, because again, it's all kind of experimental.
It's early days
stuff. Yeah, but in terms of like the basic approach to stuff, it has always been, as I say, make a nice space for folk to come and hang out and take a break from their cares, and I fully intend to just keep doing that, basically.
Nice. So I should say I asked that question not with the expectation that you were going to say, yes, I'm going to be doing all these things differently, or, you know, anything like that. I just think it's curious, that's all, because I think a lot of people might go, right, I'm going to dive into this full time. Therefore, I'm going to try and get all the best equipment that I can. I'm going to maybe change my content a bit, and maybe I'm going to start making YouTube shorts or TikTok so I can get more followers, and hopefully some of that converts into subscriptions and income and stuff like that. And that is obviously like valid, I think.
Yes. And I think that sort of thing will kind of develop over time. But at the moment, I'm just trying to establish that kind of baseline kind of thing.
Yeah.
And just getting into the habit of doing it regularly and uploading stuff regularly and frequently to keep eyes on things, and self-promoting as much as possible, which is something I've always been fairly bad at. I'm not particularly good at promoting my own stuff. Even though I know it's good and I know people enjoy it, I still always have, even if somebody like directly asks me to promote myself, I'm always very hesitant to do it for whatever reason. It's a bad habit that I really need to get out of.
I kind of get that. It's almost like a shyness kind of thing for me. Almost like not quite embarrassment, but just sort of like, it sounds stupid as well, because obviously you've made content that you want people to watch. So in that sense, you want to be the center of attention for that specific point. But if someone sort of prompts you to be like, hey, do you want to sort of be the center of attention to promote yourself being the center of attention?
Yeah.
Just feels like a step too far.
It's a very British thing, that, isn't it?
It is a very British thing.
Just trying to avoid the limelight whilst seeking it out at the same time.
Yeah.
Just doesn't make a lot of sense, really, when you think about it.
Just sort of hoping the limelight sort of meanders its way towards you, rather than you sort of...
Rather than going out on the street with a megaphone and being like, look at me! We're just sort of standing in the corner of the room, just sort of smiling and waving, and just if somebody happens to glance in our direction, then it's all good. But yeah. I need to get better at... Because I'm in like Discord servers and things that specifically have like self-promo channels, and I just never ever use them, and it is just a bit of that shyness, a bit of that like, well, why would anybody want to pay attention to me kind of thing. But I know why people want to pay attention to me, because I've been doing this for long enough that I know kind of my audience and I know what they like, and so yeah, I kind of need to get over that hump a little bit.
I'm sure that'll come with time. I'm sure, yeah.
I'm doing this, so this is kind of part of that,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
getting out there, and that's another thing as well, is collaboration with others is very, very important. It's completely impossible to do this sort of thing completely on your own. You need to have other people to kind of bounce off and pick their brains about things, and and
I think collaboration in terms of, I guess, self-promotion. That's a really effective way, because it's not, I mean, I'm going to say this and it's going to sound very sort of, I guess, sort of cynical, but like if you're on someone else's stream, then their entire audience is going to be watching you, and people that might not know you are suddenly going to be paying attention to you and might go, I'll check out their Twitch, or I'll check out their YouTube or whatever. Yeah. And it's a really, but it's mutually beneficial, because it happens both ways. So people from your community that didn't know the person that you were doing something with would then go and check out their channel as well. Yeah. And I think sort of community things and collaboration is a really good way of getting to know new people. And it does sound cynical, sort of saying, like, I'm not saying only collaborate with people for self-promotion, because that's very obvious.
Yes, yeah.
That's a really obvious thing. But with people that you enjoy being around, like, people that you've known for a while, your sort of Twitch pals and stuff like that.
Well, I mean, we've done that kind of thing before, like your Monopoly streams that you did before.
Yeah.
Featured on that
my
in the past.
Monopoly streams are such a fantastic example of that, because I invited people on that I perhaps didn't know so well, but I knew them well enough that I knew they were sort of good people. And I was like, okay, we're going to do Monopoly thing. And there's like 5 or 6 players in one game.
Yeah.
And therefore there's 5 or 6 streamers. I don't know how many were active on like actually streaming at that time. Maybe you got just like 3 of them. But they all said to their communities, oh, look, I'm doing Monopoly on this channel. And then all of their people came over and watched me.
Yeah.
And people that were watching me also checked out all the people that I was playing with.
Yeah.
So it's all really mutually beneficial. I did that. I think I did a couple of streams of that with different people each time, and it was really good.
Yeah.
Yeah, that sort of thing is such a fantastic way of just sort of, I guess, broadening your horizons. And
yeah, the Deal or No Deal streams as well, they were really good.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. Unfortunately, they are a pain in the arse to set up because the game is about 20 years old.
Yeah.
And it kind of crashes my PC sometimes. So you have to be very lucky that you get through an entire hour without it bricking up your computer, so to speak.
Yeah, collaboration, definitely. I mean, like I said before, like one of my main goals with this whole thing is to build a community and make friends from it and collaborate with those people. That's what it's all about, really.
Yeah. And you've got a good, it's not as if you're starting from zero.
Yeah.
You've over the past 4 or 5 years, you've already established like a base sort of community, and you've got a Discord server. I don't know how many people are in there, but quite a few, dozens, I'd imagine.
Yeah, a few. I mean, it's not the busiest or most active Discord ever, but that's kind of good, I think, because I mean, I don't know about you, but I'm in dozens of Discord servers, most of which I don't really care about or look at.
Yeah, I don't check the ones that get updates and stuff like every hour.
Yeah, it's like I have lots of them muted, and every so often I'll go into one and have a look, and it's just like, God, it's so busy in here, which is great. I mean, that's wonderful, but I don't think I could handle that much busyness, Like I say, my ethos has always been to make a calm and peaceful place.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it's probably better that it's not so busy in there.
I agree with that. Discord is a funny one because sort of part of me was always thinking like you need to have more people in here. But then if you've got people in there and they're not doing anything and they're not reading anything and they're not interacting, is there really any point of them being in there? Like what's the point of them joining if they're just going to immediately mute it and put it to the bottom of their list?
Exactly. Yeah. And I'm trying to make some more incentives for people to join the Discord server. Like I've taken to, when I upload a YouTube video, I'll have it unlisted and then I'll post a link to it in the Discord so that people in the Discord get kind of slightly earlier access to videos. So yeah, I'll see how that goes. But I mean, I'm not really that interested in expanding the Discord side of things that much.
Yeah, I think that naturally just comes.
Yeah, exactly. And that's really just for like go live notifications and things like that is mainly what it's for. But folks share their artwork and stuff in there and that kind of thing. So
yeah.
It's not my main focus, really.
Yeah, I totally get that. So my next question is, will you be doing anything to support yourself during this time? And I know, obviously you mentioned earlier you had a job interview.
Yeah.
So I assume the answer to this is going to be yes.
Yes.
But hopefully it's not just yes, otherwise that's a very... Could you possibly expand on that, please?
Yeah, I certainly can. Well, yeah, I mean, basically the plan is to just get a part-time job, basically, to just get a little bit of income. I'm pretty fortunate and I'm in quite a secure financial position at the moment, so I can afford to take a little bit of time out of work to focus on doing this sort of thing. That's not going to last for more than a couple of months, though. Yeah. So I'll need to have a bit more of a regular income that I can rely upon. Because I will get a little bit through from Twitch and from Ko-Fi, whatever we're calling it this week.
I believe, sorry, just to clear this up for anyone that is listening, I believe that they themselves actually pronounce it Ko-Fi because it rhymes with no fee.
Yeah, I've heard that. I don't buy it.
My argument to that is that that's stupid, and I'm just going to call it coffee.
Yeah, it's like ginsters. I cringed inside pronouncing it ginsters there because it's ginsters. It's not ginsters, it's ginsters. Come on.
Yeah, I don't know which I'd say of those, actually. I don't think I've ever said that word before.
It's I pronounced it ginsters for ages, and then I saw a TV ad for it, and they pronounced it ginsters. And then one part of me is like, well, they would know better, really. But then the bigger, louder part of me was like, well, no, ginsters just sounds better.
It does, yeah. It's like when I watched an advert for Computer Exchange or CEX, but they pronounce it sex on the advert. It's not CEX, it's sex, which I get, haha, sex joke, very funny. I mean, is it a sex joke if literally the punchline is just sex?
I think given that they're sort of marketing towards sort
people
of
who don't shower.
Teenagers and young adults, then yeah, it probably is about the extent of that.
Yeah. My God.
So I mean, apart from getting that'll be the main thing is getting a wee part-time job.
Yeah. How many hours are you looking at?
Oh, like 15 to 20 a week. Because I need to leave time for streaming and for editing and stuff. So yeah, we'll see how that goes. Like I said, I had the interview the other day, which seemed to go pretty well. Just waiting to hear back from them. So we'll see how that goes.
Nice.
The good thing about that job is it is very, very local. It's like a supermarket that's like 10 minutes down the road from me. So
oh, nice.
It's very, very convenient. So yeah, we'll see how that goes. And in terms of other stuff, I mean, just encouraging people to donate. Really, I really need to kind of think of incentives for people, like goals that I can set for that, like challenges and things that I can set. Give people a bit of incentive to do so, other than just helping me keep the lights on at Nerdmo HQ.
Yeah, you could do a fucking coffee-thon like I did.
Yeah, I was thinking about doing something along those lines. I don't really know what or how yet. I'm still kind of working that out, but I'll think of something. I'm pretty clever like that. So, I'll come up with some wacky thing maybe I'll do another non-brand specific corn snack eating stream.
Yeah, that'd be good.
Or something along those lines. Non-brand specific soda pop tasting extravaganza. Don't steal my ideas.
Do you remember when, I don't know if you were there for this, but Bob Velocity was going to do a biscuit tasting stream, and he went to the co-op and bought like 20 packs of biscuits.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think his family just ate them all as soon as he bought them. So it's something like that anyway.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah.
The reason I keep bringing coffee up, or Ko-Fi, or Ko-fi, or whatever the fuck you want to call it, for those who don't know, it's basically like Patreon.
Yeah.
In the sense that you can basically donate to people through that, but you can also set up like a monthly donation. So it'll be like, you can do like anything from like £1 a month to literally as much as you wanted a month.
Yeah.
And like Patreon, you can have like different tiers that have different rewards and stuff like that. And it was something that I used a lot, especially in my last year of, I guess, full-time streaming. And the reason is, for the same money that someone gives you, if someone subscribes to you on Twitch, and it costs, I think it's £5 now, isn't it? So if someone gives you £5 on Twitch, you only get, how much is it? You probably get about £2 of that if you're lucky.
Yeah, it's less than half, certainly, yeah.
Twitch does this thing where they convert it to dollars, and then they convert it back into your currency when they pay you again. So there's 2 different conversion fees being taken off it.
Yeah.
So I think I figured it out. This was a couple of years ago when I think they were £4, and it averaged out at being £1.70 or something like that.
Mm.
If you do like a monthly donation on Coffee, if you pay £5, Coffee take £5, 5% of that. They don't take £5. Sorry. Coffee take 5% of that, unless the user has Coffee Gold, which is, I think, £60 a year or something like that, in which case they don't take any of it. And then I guess whatever payment provider you're using, PayPal or Stripe, will take their percentage, which is usually like 2 and a bit % or something like that.
Something like that.
And a flat fee of like 30 pence. So the £5 that you donate on Coffee, the streamer or the creator will get like £4.50 of it.
Yeah.
It's literally, it's more than double than what you'd get if you subscribed on Twitch.
Yes. And also, you don't sully your immortal soul by putting pounds in the pockets of horrible scumbag billionaires.
Yeah, exactly. So it's kind of a win-win. The only thing you don't get is, obviously, you'll still get ads. Fucking use an ad blocker. If you're using the Twitch app to watch streams, fucking uninstall it. It's shit.
God. Yeah, I got the new update for that recently, and it's just the worst thing I've ever had to use in my life.
It's absolutely vile.
Ugh.
The other thing you don't get is emotes. And I believe your channel, Nerdmo, has a channel point reward thing where you can just unlock emotes for like 24 hours.
Yeah.
And they're really cheap. And Nerdmo gives back channel points at the end of every stream. So you never, if you spend 1,000 channel points on something, the next stream, you'll have those back.
Yeah.
So it's basically, you have infinite channel points essentially if you keep watching.
I don't know anybody else who does that. I've never encountered anyone else who's ever done that. Probably mostly folk just don't think to do it, really.
No.
My kind of thinking with it has always been I want people to use my redemptions, so
yeah,
I don't want them to run out of points, so I'll just give them back, it doesn't cost me anything, so, fine.
Well, I had redemptions and then people get spamming in and I just got really fucking pissed off, and so I just turned them up even higher.
Yeah.
But what I did do when I started using coffee is that sort of that channel point reward to unlock an emote. I think I just set it to be like 1 point or something like that. So people could just unlock them all for like 6 channel points, which you can get in 5 minutes of watching. So there was really no benefit to subscribing on Twitch aside from no ads, which again, I say either use an ad blocker. You could even get Twitch Turbo, which is like £8 a month and removes ads for all the channels.
Yep, and the streamer still gets the ad revenue from the adverts that they skip as well. So
if you're subbing to multiple people for just so you don't have to watch ads, it's better to get Twitch Turbo and then donate to those people the amount that they would normally get from a sub through, if they have like a Coffee or a Patreon or like a Streamlabs or Stream Elements link sort of below the stream. You can literally, if everyone did that, streamers' income would be more than doubled compared to if everyone who's subbed to someone on Twitch moved to Coffee or Stream Elements or whatever, their income would more than double.
Yeah.
For the same monetary value. Like, it's crazy.
Yeah, the only thing with it is it's just that slight bit of inconvenience with it. It's very convenient on Twitch just to hit that resubscribe button or that subscription button. It is,
and I admit I do sometimes resubscribe to people. I only typically do it if they don't have like a Stream Elements link.
Yeah.
Or anything like that. So I'll use Snorbuckle as an example, who doesn't have like a Coffee or anything like that. So I do subscribe to them on Twitch, but their employer matches the amount of income they get from Twitch every month.
Oh, right.
Or every payment they get, and then it goes to charity.
Oh, yeah. Okay. That's cool.
And Snorbuckle can pick the charity. So the money that you're giving to Snorbuckle or to Twitch on that occasion is actually is going to a charity as well. Because the employer matches it. So that's the only time I ever really do that. It is good, isn't it? Yeah. And I do know a lot of people that just give their Twitch stuff to charity, which is always really good.
Yeah.
But yeah. Okay, right. Following on from that question, which was long ago now, but that's fine. You were talking about getting a part-time job. So how are you going to plan your time? Are you going to be following a schedule in terms of like your editing and your streaming? Have you got any quote-unquote work hours that you're sort of thinking about?
Sort of, yeah. So I've got my stream schedule. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, 12 p.m. till 5 p.m. And then the wild card on Sundays. So I've got basically Monday, Friday, and Saturdays off, quote unquote, each week. I try to keep Monday for just not doing anything work related at all, like a proper actual day off. Most often I fail with that because I'll have an idea and then I'll want to go and do something. But I mean, I kind of consider video editing and things to be a hobby and a leisure activity as well. So, it's not like I'm fully stressing myself. But like I try to keep Thursdays and Fridays for editing stuff because I try to get a YouTube upload done.
Friday and Saturday, you mean? Sorry.
Friday and Saturday, yes, sorry.
Yes, that's right.
Because I try to get a YouTube upload done every weekend, every Sunday I aim for. So yeah, that's really how I'll be planning my time for the moment. It'll have to change a little bit as and when I do get a part-time job.
Yeah.
it might need to well, there's no might about it. It will need to change around a little bit. So it might mean me having to do like 2 stream days through the week instead of 3, and then the wild card on Sunday, and then the rest of the time is kind of split between official job and like video editing and whatever else.
Yeah.
So things will be a little bit changeable for the moment, but for now I've kind of got the set schedule, and I'm just trying to stick to that as much as possible. And I will even when I do get like a part-time job and things, I will be trying to keep my schedule as regular as possible, so I'm streaming on the same days each week, because I think that sort of reliability side of things is quite important.
I think it is, yeah. The people that I watch on Twitch all have very specific, at least daily schedules, and they'll roughly go online at roughly the same time, give or take an hour or so.
Mm-hmm.
And that's part of my routine now. I go, on Tuesday, this person's on at this time. And, on Thursday, this person's on at this time. And I can almost, if I want to watch them, I can almost alter what I'm doing around that. I can say, I want to be done with this thing by 7 because this person's going to be on at that point, and all that sort of thing.
It's just like planning your day around the TV.
Yeah.
Really?
Exactly.
Essentially.
Yeah.
It's basically the same thing.
It's exactly what it is.
But yeah, I think that regularity is very important.
Yeah.
The reliability of it, I should say. Yeah.
Yeah. The reason I asked that is because this was my main problem when I was doing this stuff, is that I didn't really set proper work hours, if we're going to call them that. I had a schedule, if you remember that. It was basically 5 or 6 days a week from about 10 till about 4, give or take, probably half an hour each way, which is obviously a lot of fucking streaming. And then what I would do after an end of a stream at about 4 o'clock, I'd unwind for 20 minutes, something like that, on the raid and stuff. And then I'd immediately go back into chucking VODs on YouTube and checking social media and seeing if I've got any clips, and if I've got any good clips, downloading them and then editing those down and sticking them on social media. Well, I was basically I didn't have a time dedicated to just doing nothing like you have. You said you got Mondays for that. I did not do that because I was like, I kind of find this fun. I was like, I kind of like doing this like video editing and, putting the VODs on YouTube and sorting all that stuff out. It was something that I kind of enjoyed. It was kind of, I don't know, it was relaxing in a sense.
Yeah, it can be. The problem with that is you can very easily start to push yourself too much.
Yeah, well, that's exactly what I did. I just burnt out completely.
And just not giving yourself that kind of break from it. I try very hard not to do any other kind of production work on days where I've been streaming. Like, I'll end stream and that's me done for the day.
Yeah.
It doesn't always work out like that because, like I say, even with my days, my sort of official quote-unquote days off, quite a lot of the time I will end up doing something anyway.
Yeah. Just
because I get a bit of anxiety with it. Kind of partly anxiety, partly boredom, because I'll sometimes just be sitting there like, I don't really have anything else to do, so I might as well do this. And, a bit of anxiety with it. Healthy anxiety, with it, I should say, just to get stuff done. So giving yourself time away from doing that sort of thing is very, very important, because otherwise, and this has happened to me in the past as well, or you just get burnt out with it.
Yeah.
And you then you need to take a break for like a month, and that has a real impact on things. So yeah, it's very important. Again, advice for new people thinking about doing this sort of thing. Make sure you plan in proper downtime.
Yeah.
Especially when you're first starting off and you're kind of new and it's all new and exciting and you want to be doing it as much as possible. If you do that, you will get burnt out within a couple of weeks, probably.
Yeah.
And, whether or not you go back to it after that kind of depends person to person.
Yeah.
But yeah, take it easy on yourself, really.
Absolutely.
That's my advice there.
It is a tricky one as well, because like we've both said, a lot of it can be fun. We can find a lot of the things that we're sort of working on actually fun.
Yeah.
So it doesn't feel like you're working. But even though you enjoy it, it is working. It's like, I don't know, take an example of a footballer. They enjoy playing football, but they enjoy it. They're not playing football every waking minute, because they realise that come the match at the weekend, they're going to be knackered. Like, even though it's fun, you've still got to do something else fun that's a little bit more relaxing. Otherwise, you will just you'll just wreck yourself.
That's the thing. If you're enjoying it, then you're probably not going to notice at least to begin with, the kind of strain that it is putting on you.
Yeah.
And that'll just kind of creep up on you after a while, and it can be very off-putting. And like I say, it means having to take kind of extended breaks, which impacts like your income from it, and audience kind of drops off if you do that sort of thing. So yeah, it's very important.
Take another example I've got. I was playing Minecraft the other day, as I always do.
Mm-hmm.
I really enjoyed myself. I'd been playing it basically all day. I logged off. I looked in the mirror. I've never seen my eyes so bloodshot before. I was just staring at the screen the whole time. I was having fun, but I didn't realise how intensely I was staring at a computer screen for non-stop for God knows how many hours. Obviously, I got breaks and stuff like that, but like I didn't give myself enough time. I needed to set a point to myself where I was like, I'm only going to be on this for a certain amount of time today.
Yeah.
And I never did that, and I ended up feeling really crap that night.
Yeah. Oh, I've done that many, many times. With Minecraft in particular,
Yeah.
It's shockingly easy
Yeah, I know.
for that to happen with Minecraft. You're just like, you're building a thing, you're just like, I'll finish this little bit of it, and then you'll have an idea for another little bit of it, and I'm like, okay, I'll just do that, that'll take me 10 minutes.
Yeah.
And then before you know it, 6 hours have gone by, and...
And video editing's really similar to that, because like when you really get bogged down in it, and you're looking at like individual frames and splitting videos and all that sort of thing, you can get really into it, and time is just sort of lost. And you don't realise.
Yeah, there's been so many times where I've just accidentally stayed up till like 4 a.m. tinkering with the thing. Usually because it's like last minute changes that kind of snowball into other things that I need to do to whatever I'm making. It's very, 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 very easy to let that happen.
It's vital that you've got to give yourself some proper downtime, whether it's just having a nap, or even if it's just something where your brain is not being used a lot. Watching a YouTube video, watching a TV show, just something mindless. You've got to do something mindless every now and then.
Yes, absolutely. Even on stream, I will do that, because I've taken to having a sort of 5-10 minute break like in the middle of streams, which is something that I was really, really bad at before.
Yeah.
I would just like accidentally stream for like 12 hours without taking a break, and you don't feel it until immediately, as soon as you hit that stop streaming button, just the wave of exhaustion just hits you like a wave. So even like in the middle of a stream, I will make a point of being like, right, I'm going for a break now. It'll be 5-10 minutes, and I'll step outside, get a breath of fresh air, just sit, not look at a screen at all. I'll have like my stream open on my phone so I can kind of keep half an eye on the chat just in case anything kind of kicks off, which never happens, but it could happen. You never know.
It could do.
So yeah, that's very important to get those breaks in the middle. There's a reason why it's against the law for employers not to give you breaks. There's a good reason for that.
Yeah.
And if you are your own employer, effectively, then you have to be the one kind of doing that for yourself, which is difficult, especially when it's a thing that you enjoy doing and just want to keep doing all the time. It's a tricky balance to get right.
And what I used to do is on my breaks, where I take probably 10-15 minutes usually, I'd have my dinner or lunch, whatever you want to call it. And it kind of worked, but at the same time, all I was doing is just eating really fast because I wanted to get back to my stream.
Yeah.
Because in my mind, I was going, the longer that stream says "be right back," viewers are trickling away.
Yes.
If I've got 20 viewers and I go for a lunch break and I come back and I've got 14, in my mind that I would then go, oh no, I've lost 6 viewers while I was having some dinner. So I'd eat really fast, or I'd make something really little, or sometimes I didn't even have anything, and I would just go and like make a cup of tea or something like that. And again, that took me a while to sort of unlearn that and give myself a proper break. That was a really good chat about that, actually. Thank you. That's something that I've never really talked about before. Okay, Nerdmo.
Hello.
What's in the works?
Well, lots of stuff. What have we got? There'll be more movie commentaries coming soon. I'm planning on doing not like a full season of them. So for people who don't know, I tend to do movie commentaries in like a sort of season format. So we'll do like 5 movies, usually based around some kind of vague theme, and then a trilogy to kind of cap it off. That's like a once a year thing usually, but I'm wanting to start doing more like special occasions like Halloween and Christmas specials, that kind of thing. So I'm looking into doing that. There'll be more just sort of, silly top 10 lists and that kind of thing on YouTube. There'll be stream VODs going up. So if you've missed any of my recent Tears of the Kingdom playthrough, I'll be starting to upload those VODs this weekend, actually.
Well, they'll already be up by the time this goes out then.
Yeah, probably. Yeah. What else? There's the big week. So every year, and I'm amazed that I have been as consistent with this as I have been, every year I would take a week out at the end of August to, in the past it was to stream as close to full time as I possibly could, because back then I wasn't able to do it properly full time. And the last couple of years, it's been based around Basher Bob stuff. Everybody's favourite character. Well, I say character, vague sketch of a character that I invented to kind of do a bit of light role playing when playing certain games. So at the moment, I am finishing up with the last Basher Bob thing I did, which was the Fear and Bashing in New Vegas. Very clever name there, which was a lot of fun. Basically me playing through Fallout New Vegas as Basher Bob, having lots of adventures and killing lots of people. So going to wrap that up, which is going to lead into what I'll be doing on the big week, which will be the Half-Life of Basher Bob 2. Where I'll be playing through Half-Life 2 as Basher Bob. And there'll be other stuff happening as well. We'll be like watching movies in Discord and that sort of thing. So I'll be getting a proper announcement of that, the plan for that, out in the next sort of week or so. Might well be up and published and advertised by the time this goes up. We'll see how that goes. The big plan is that I have for the last few years been trying to develop like a proper series, almost like a TV series, the Nerdmotron show, which will be sort of like a talk show kind of format, but with a sort of narrative element kind of threaded through it.
Yeah.
So basically be like sort of 10 to 15 minutes of me just kind of sitting down, talking to somebody about something, and then it's sort of bookended by these kind of narrative elements. It's taken a long time to get the ball rolling on that, because it turns out trying to produce a season of television is quite difficult.
Yeah, I can only imagine.
Especially when you're mostly doing it yourself. I've got help from other people with it, but it's a lot of work. And, figuring out how we were going to do it is, because I wanted to do it like sort of like stop motion Lego. Turns out that's so much work, basically impossible. I mean, I want to kind of build up to that one day. So it's been a case of kind of refining the ideas and reining it in a bit. And I think I've got a decent workable plan with that now. So I'm hoping to have that, get the ball rolling with that next year sometime. So that's not imminently on the radar, but it is.
That's long term.
Long term, that's kind of what I'm working towards. And in the meantime, it'll just be more streams on Twitch. And as I say, silly little bits and pieces going up on YouTube.
Yeah.
I should say like the Nerdmotron show stuff and all of that, and the movie commentaries, they'll all be on YouTube as well. So that's pretty much what's coming for me down the line.
That Nerdmotron show idea, I love it, by the way. It is really interesting to me because that was something that I sort of like, it was a seed planted in my head a couple of years ago that I wanted to do something along those lines. And I immediately, like straight away, I just thought, oh, that'd be a good idea if someone else did it. I can't be bothered. I don't have I want to say ability. I can't be asked is basically what it is.
The patience for it, yeah.
Yeah, it would be a major faff. it would be a serious fact. It would be worth it,
Mm.
but like I had to sort of weigh up like whether it was going to be worth it.
Yeah.
And it just at the time it just was not. It was sort of like basically I got the idea because we were doing a deal or no deal stuff, and in those streams I'm sort of playing. So my character is called Noel Edmondson. I don't know where that name came from, but basically I was playing a bit of a character where it was me, but there was just like certain aspects of my personality that would be either, you know, amplified or turned down a bit. So it was still recognizably me, but it wasn't, you know, it was a little bit different. And I really enjoy doing that sort of thing. I enjoy playing, I enjoy sort of like acting. I enjoy playing a version of myself that isn't quite me, because I find that kind of easy to sort of just be me, but just like a caricature of myself. I find it really easy to do that sort of thing. And I thought like, oh, I could turn this into sort of, because fucking Noel Edmonds had all sorts of shows, didn't he?
Yeah.
And I thought, I could just do like a parody of one of those, or even if it wasn't one of those, I could just do a parody of like, I don't know, Parkinson or something like that.
Yeah.
But nothing ever really came from it. It was just sort of one of those things where I was like, oh, that's a good idea if someone else did that. So it's really nice to see. I mean, whether it'll be anything like but from what you've said so far, it sounds like the premise is kind of similar, where it's like
sort of similar,
individual episodes, but there's sort of there is a narrative that weaves them together.
Yes, exactly. And like the topics that I would be picking are kind of related to whatever's happening in the story at the time, sort of thing. Yeah, I've always kind of been the same with making characters that are basically a caricature of myself, because and I've tried in the past to do this whole weaving of a sort of story into live streaming, which is again something that I've not really seen many people do.
It's tricky.
It is very tricky. It's so difficult. You remember that time that I spent a week being an evil version of myself and constantly speaking like this? And
do you know what? I don't know if I do remember that. I can't remember when.
Really? When I was playing through Knights of the Old Republic as evil Nerdmotron.
Oh God, yeah, no, sorry, yeah, I only caught a couple of those, but yes, no, I do remember that.
Oh, okay. Well, they're all up on YouTube, so if you want to catch up on that stuff, the whole evil Nerdmotron saga was hilariously cobbled together. I'm amazed that it is even remotely as coherent as it is. I'm actually quite proud of myself for having done that. Yeah, that was really good. And like I say, there's the Basher Bob stuff as well. Basher Bob's just a kind of me amplifying my Scottishness up to 11, you know, just this well-meaning but quite dense and very, very belligerent just force of nature. God, I love Bob.
Yeah, Bob's fantastic.
What a beautiful, beautiful man. So, yeah, let's... I
think what you said there about talking about people who sort of weave a narrative through their streams, I'm a big fan of that. There was someone that I used to follow a few years ago who did streams of a game called Pro Evolution Soccer, which the football game, and they used to sort of role play being the manager.
Yeah, I remember that, yeah.
All the players had like their own personalities, and they had like little voices for them, and there'd be like stuff going on behind the scenes. I remember there was one point when one of the players got called up for military service and came back like a completely different person and stuff like that, and it was like, it's something that kept you watching every stream because you did not want to miss a single development. And I think it's a really effective way to stream, and people who get it right, it's not often, but when it's done properly, it's like the best streaming content. And like I said, I haven't even followed that person in about 2 years now, but I still remember that stuff like it was yesterday, because it wasn't even that it was well produced, because it was the part of it was that it was all sort of like cobbled together, and it was a lot of it was just improvised, but it was such a great story to tell. And some games are really good for that. Some games that don't have like an actual story behind them, so like football games and things like that, tend to be a lot better for that kind of thing, I find. But it is still possible to do them with, you know, games like things like Fallout 4 and Fallout New Vegas, because I know when you did your Fallout New Vegas, you didn't start by getting shot in the head. You had a whole narrative established where I think you fell from a interdimensional wormhole, basically just into New Vegas, and you started there. So we didn't go through the whole thing with Doc Mitchell at the beginning, so it gave yourself a little bit more freedom to create your own character and the way that he perceives the world. And, so when you saw Benny, it didn't mean anything because he hadn't shot you in the head. He's just someone that you turned up to at the first time. And you went, oh, this sounds a bit like Chandler Bing, and then probably shot him in the head. Or
yeah, and everybody constantly calling him a courier. And I was just like, I'm not. What does that mean? What are you talking about?
It's really good. Yeah.
Yeah, I love doing that sort of stuff. It's very difficult to do it in a live stream format, though. People who are able to do that are heroes, quite frankly.
It's really tricky. I was never able to do it.
I know I'm going to be able to do it and do it well, but I will need to do it off stream. It'll need to be a YouTube thing. Yeah. Sadly.
Yeah.
I say sadly. That's fine.
You do it all on stream and then you whittle it down. So you don't get, I guess, like when you're catching up on chat and any sort of, I guess, channel point redemptions that interfere with the stream,
Yeah, well, when I'm doing that kind of thing, I'll try to have like redemptions that are kind of relevant,
lore friendly.
So the thing with Basher Bob is he went and I did the Half-Life of Basher Bob a couple of years ago now, I think. I was playing through Black Mesa, the HD remake of Half-Life, the original Half-Life. So he had his HEV suit on, so I had a lot of like sound redemptions that were just the HEV suit saying silly things and fart noises and kind of stuff.
Great. And it's still a good way for like getting viewers to interact and redeem those channel points without it being jarring,
Exactly. And it's like I'll have to cut around, like if I get a raid coming in and stuff like that. I'll when I'm editing those down, I try to take out as much of like the stream interaction stuff. And as I was going through it doing that, I was like, well, if I'm going to do it like this, and I probably might as well just do it straight onto YouTube.
Yeah.
Just record it myself. But at the same time, I can't really bring myself to do that because I like to stream as Basher Bob because he's just such a fun character. So, yeah.
I think an idea that I had when I was possibly thinking of doing like a kind of, I guess, a narrative thing where I'd maybe edit it down and put it on YouTube again. I never did this. But my idea was going to be that people could still see the Twitch chat and all that sort of thing. But the sort of quote unquote lore behind it was that every like chat message was just like every chatter was just a brain cell. Or something stupid like that.
Yeah, I kind of had a similar sort of thing in mind with Basher Bob, where like chat was just like voices in his head. A kind of a tricky thing to do, and
it's tricky. Yeah, it's
not be problematic with it, and
having it as like an inner monologue makes more sense than maybe like voices in their head or something like that. But again, it's sort of like that, like, the angel and the devil on your shoulder sort of thing.
Yeah, that kind of thing.
But it's a tricky one. I agree with that. Nerdmo, thank you so much for having this chat with me. It's been so good.
Yeah, no problem. It's been great.
I've really enjoyed it. It's been very enlightening. Before we go, my last question it's not even a question, it just says plugs. So
plugs, well, twitch.tv/Nerdmotron, youtube.com/@Nerdmo. Those are the main things. Basically, if you just Google Nerdmotron, I mean, frankly, I'm a genius for coming up with that name because it's one of the most unique things, and I'd be interested to see actually what people's search results will be when they just search it, because obviously I'm searching myself. It'll be a little bit biased, but I've got my Ko-fi coffee set up. I'm Nerdmotron on there as well. Nerdmo on Blue Sky. I don't use Twitter anymore. I do have my account on there still, but I don't actually use it.
Yeah.
Apparently, I've got an Instagram still.
You do? I don't. Is it? I'm going to check if it. I think it might be private though.
Probably will be. I don't really have any intention of using Instagram. It's mostly going to be Twitch and YouTube. So those are the main things, and you'll find links to other stuff, SoundCloud and things like that, either on YouTube or on Twitch. So if you go to twitch.tv/Nerdmotron, you'll find links for other stuff on there. So get following and subscribing and liking and commenting and all that good stuff.
Yeah, please do, because I'm living vicariously through Nerdmo now. So any support for Nerdmo is technically supporting me as well, which obviously I'm all on board with.
The rising tide sinks all ships.
Yeah. even if it's just stuff like sharing a video, liking, commenting, it doesn't have to be. I mean, being financial is nice, but obviously not everyone can afford that. But people don't realize how much like a like and a comment on YouTube does. It does a lot.
Yes, I'm quite surprised actually that it's really helped.
So even if you just chuck a comment in that says "nice video" or "I like this bit" or so just anything,
and you know, give me feedback as well. Let me know what's working and what isn't, so that I can kind of improve what I'm doing. I'm always going to do what I want to do. I'm never going to deviate from that. I'm doing this stuff to entertain myself first. Really, the fact that other people enjoy it is great, but if it's going to be stuff that I enjoy. So that said, give me feedback on it, because I'm very receptive to that, and I want to know what's working and what isn't, so that I can change and improve and adapt and all that good stuff.
Yeah. Well, hopefully the feedback towards this is good. I hope people enjoy this.
Hopefully, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if this is going to become like a thing. It's probably not. I did enjoy this though. We'll have to see. The door will be kept slightly ajar, ever so slightly.
Yeah.
A little breeze might come in, but that's just about it. A cat couldn't come through. A cat couldn't fit in.
We're really pushing it with the analogies.
Yeah.
Aren't we? We've gone a little bit off the rails with those, I think.
Thank you very much, Nerdmo.
Yeah, no problem at all.
Thanks everyone for listening.
Thank you.
And yeah, that's Nerdmotron, everyone.